Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Explorations in Medieval Daoyin program, sponsored by Daoist Arts Organization International. I'm Robert Kuhns, the Vice Chairman of DAOI. I welcome you all to this meeting and ongoing for the course of the year. I think this is going to be really delightful. Our guest, Dolly Yang, is an absolute treasure trove of information about medieval Daoyin within multiple contexts, but especially the medical. Um, the structure of the program is going to be interactive, and so we'll all have plenty of chances to share within the context of Dolly's excellent translation of the Zhubing Yuan Holun. And beyond that, also for participants over the next several weeks, for anyone who is interested in doing some facilitation, we invite you to consider being part of our panel, so that then interesting information that you glean either through reading the text or practicing the text, or through your past experience in things like Chinese medicine or Taoism or Qigong, or really anything relevant, may be shared by you with us. That will make the program much more interesting, and it will give us a chance to broaden our knowledge about this fascinating but also relatively challenging subject of medieval Daoyin. So having said that, I will get my ugly mug out of the way, and I will pass it on to Dolly to give us an introduction. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Robert, for the wonderful introduction. And yes, welcome everyone. And first of all, thank you, Robert, for organizing the group and also the DAOI team for facilitating this platform so that we can all be together and explore the text of Zhubing Yuan Holun together. This is very this is like my dream comes true, and I just feel so grateful that that you are all here and to together to explore this text, because this is this is not quite the same as the modern Qigong. This is like just a text that is there and is still waiting to be somehow translated into a physical movements. Yeah. So we got the translation, which I did, but we still can't quite sure how those exercises work. I mean, maybe some exercises are simpler to understand, so we can just think, oh, yes, I know, well, I can do it. But then other exercises, even if you look at the instructions, you're still not quite sure. And that's precisely the reason why, why we're here, is because if we get enough people to explore these exercises together, maybe there are some people who have got certain insights into what the exercise might be like, then we get a better understanding. So this is just a wonderful opportunity, and I really hope that we will, be together for as long as possible. I mean, we're hoping that this is going to hopefully take a year, because if we're meeting bi-weekly and we're going through this whole book, which has got more than about 200 different exercises. And so, so hopefully we'll be able to go through those exercises within the year. So that's kind of how we foresee. And so we just need to kind of experiment. So everything is kind of, it's very organic. We haven't planned anything very much. We just wanted to sort of open this platform to everyone. Whoever wants to explore this together, then we do it together on the spot, basically. You don't really need to like study beforehand or, do a lot of preparations. And because we're all very busy people, and thank you so much for sacrificing your Saturday, to spend an hour or so, or maybe 2 hours maximum, to look at this material together. So So yeah, so let's try and see how it goes. And I just want to also thanks Fabrice as well, because Fabrice has been sort of helping me and helping Robert to sort of set everything up at this sort of initial stage. So I'm hoping he will also join me in this session, that we will kind of be the panels going through the exercise together. And so the idea is we're going to look at the disease entry. So I hope you have the book, and that's the idea, is we're going to just follow the book. And so basically the way the text is designed is it gives you the disease entry. So we got the 卷1 in section 13, for example. So this is, I'm looking at page 60 now. Then we have the symptoms of lateral withering caused by wind. So this is the very first disease entry in 朱病原后论, where you will see the Daoyin exercises. And so basically in this book, which I translated all the Daoyin exercises from 朱病原后论, they are 110 chapters. So if you look at the index, then you will see there are 110 chapters. That means they are 110 disease entries. And in these entries, they are Daoyin exercises. However, those 110 disease entries are spread across 50 out of 71 disorders, so 病 categories. So the first disease category, or disorder category rather, is 风病. So the wind disease, or the wind disorder. And under the wind disorder, which is the first one, we have about 65 different disease entries, and we will, so you will see here in the contents that I think there are about 15 disease entries within the wind disorder. Okay, so anyway, so basically only those disease entries that we find the Daoyin exercises, and those are the ones that I have translated. So I have translated the diseases as well as the accompanying Daoyin exercises. So my proposal for our group is we will look at the disease entries first, and we're trying to understand what the disease is about. And then we will then look at the Daoyin exercises, because this is the text which is compiled by the medical officials in the Sui period, during the Sui period, yeah, so around 7th century CE. So these people, they were the medical experts, and they trying to match the kind of Daoyin exercises which would be used as a treatment method for these different diseases. Okay, so we kind of, in a way, trying to understand their rationale, why they choose these exercises. Yeah, so these exercises were not invented by them. They already got these exercises, maybe from other texts. Yeah, so they're just trying to bring the two things together. They first of all have written these diseases, because the book, which is called 朱病原后论, it means they're trying, so it's the origins and the symptoms of all diseases. So in a way, you don't really need those Daoyin exercises, because the book is about trying to categorize different diseases. So that means they have done it. They've written they compiled the diseases, and then for some reason that they decided that they're going to insert, if you like, or copy and paste different Daoyin exercises into these diseases. And this is the result of what we have in this text, 朱病原后论, which has got many Daoyin materials which is now, you know, is a rich material in the Daoyin genre, if you like. And so what we're trying to do is to find out these. First of all, we need to know how to do these exercises, and then we need to kind of understand why they, you know, why they put those exercises in this particular disease entry. So that's the reason why that is very important is because a lot of the modern Qigong or the Tai Chi, you know, we don't really know, we kind of know what they are for, but not as specifically as what these exercises. So these exercises are definitely for medical treatments. So they're used as a medical treatments. And so I think that's, again, is a very special or very specific feature of these Daoyin materials in this text. So that's what we're hoping to do is we're going to read. So what I thought is we will read the chapter, the first chapter, and then we look at the Daoyin exercises. And then maybe at any time, if you have any questions, please either, you know, you got this, you can sort of raise your hands. I think there's something that you can raise your hand, or you can, you know, write your questions in the chat. That you can also do that as well. So hopefully somebody will, or I can see it, and then I will be able to. So basically, yeah, just whenever you feel you wanted to say anything, please do interrupt. It's fine. And the idea is not just me talking or, you know, giving the instructions, because really it's about us together, working together, and, you know, trying to work out what's going on really in this text. So is that clear enough for you all? Great. So, right. So should we make a start? So should we look at the chapter 1? And what I would do is I will read. So the idea of a panelist, somebody on the panel, is the person will read, and basically it's a bit like in Chinese we'll call it 导读. So somebody that guides you to read, yeah. So it will be really lovely if the person who is reading the medical the disease entries section is somebody who is actually a practitioner of Chinese medicine. So if any of you is a practitioner of Chinese medicine, it would be so wonderful if you would like to, you know, be the panel, one of our panelists, and to help us to understand the disease entries. That would be really great. And those who are practitioners of Tai Chi and Qigong and, you know, any kind of body practices, if you would like to read the, you know, sort of help us to work on the Daoyin sections. So basically it will be like two people doing the, will be sort of serving on the panels, if you like, in each sessions. But for now, I think you know, I will do I will read the disease entries, and then when we're working on the Daoyin, maybe I would like to bring Fabrice, if you would like to if you would be happy to join me, so that would be wonderful. And so yeah, okay, so let's start. This is the Juan 1, section 13. Symptoms of lateral withering caused by wind. So this is 风偏枯后. Lateral withering caused by wind is a result of blood and qi becoming deficient, thus causing the pores to open. Wind and damp are admitted and lodged on one side of the body and between the pores. This congeals the blood and makes the qi uneven, preventing either one from being moistened and nourished. If this remains untreated for a long time, the vital qi will disappear, leaving only the deviant qi, resulting in lateral withering. The signs are a lack of movement on one side of the body and lateral withering of muscles and flesh. The area may be small but painful. One's speech is not affected since the mind has not been disturbed. When the deviance first appears between the pores, it is better to stay in a warm bed and sweat. Increase wherever there is deficiency and decrease wherever there is excess. Then one can be healed. And then we move on to the next part, which is a lot of these is about the pulses. So I'll read the next section as well. If when diagnosing the stomach pulse, it is sinking and big, and if when diagnosing the heart pulse, it is small, firm, and speedy, these are both signs of lateral withering. The illness will develop on the left in men and on the right in women. As speech is not lost and the tongue can still move, one can be cured and recover in 30 days. If one has not yet reached 20, one will die within 3 years. Moreover, if the foot taiyang pulse at the shenmen, which is at the chi point on the left hand, is weak, this indicates illness of lateral withering caused by aversion wind, which is the result of worry and anxiety. The orthodox prescriptions for decoctions, hot packs, needles, and stones are given elsewhere. The Yangshen supplementation and Daoyin instructions are now attached below. So every time in the disease entry, if there is Daoyin exercise, if there are Daoyin exercises or even Yangshen, some Yangshen instructions, it will give you this kind of sentence, which is always the same. It always says the orthodox prescriptions for decoctions, hot packs, needles, and stones are given elsewhere. So that means they must have other texts which have got those recipes, yeah? And here, the Yangshen supplementations and Daoyin instructions are now attached below. So that means in this text, we're going to focus on these, the Yangshen instructions or the Daoyin exercise instructions. So this is the disease entry, and I'm wondering if anybody who is a practitioner of Chinese medicine, if there's anybody here. I mean, can somebody sort of raise their hands and yeah. So who so is I can see. Sorry, because is it Jess or I'm wondering if it's possible to have, you know, this hand things on, is this to do with react? No, because I remember on Zoom there is things like with you can raise your hands and then I can then let people speak then. Is that possible, Robert?
Yes, so everybody, on the bottom of your Zoom screen, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a black taskbar. And on the taskbar from left to right, on the leftmost, you'll see audio. On the rightmost, you'll see end. And on the center left, there's something with a heart symbol, and it says react. It's right next to chat. So you can click on react, and then if you click the button, you would get different choices. And if you click on the heart, then you would get the various emoticons you can use. So I'm going to put a thumbs up now. So you can see I've put a thumbs up there. And then if you would like to take it away, then you just go back and, oh, it goes away spontaneously, never mind. So there's one that says raise hand. So if you raise hand, then it will raise your hand, and then it pushes your screen toward the front so that the presenter can see. And so then they can call you. And if many people raise their hand, it will partition them into a line. Then you can lower your hand when you're done. Does everybody understand that function well?
Wonderful. So would it be possible if you could raise your hand using the symbols, if you are a practitioner of Chinese medicine? Could we see anybody could just raise their hands? Brilliant. Okay, so can I invite Miro? Miro, are you happy to say a few things?
Hello,
Hello.
everyone. Hello, hello.
Wonderful.
I'm from
Nice to meet you.
Slovakia. I
Wonderful.
don't know. Okay.
So, so we just read the symptoms of lateral withering caused by wind. Do you have any thoughts?
Not
What do you
really.
think? Nothing sort of come out, sort of strikes you yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So what about in terms of the pulses? What do you think about those? Because I mean, in this text, I would love somebody doing an extensive research on the pulses, because there's a lot of materials on pulses.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that comes to mind?
Not really. We are just in the beginning. Maybe later I will have
Sure,
some.
that's fine, no problem.
Yeah.
Raphael, would you like to say anything? So is there anything that, you know, from reading this particular entry, anything that strikes you, basically? I mean, okay, is it similar to, maybe equivalent to something in the West, perhaps? I don't know. Anything you can...
In the West, I'm not sure, but from Chinese perspective, I see that this is more deficiency. So it's going not for, it's also mentioned that it can be as a some stagnation, but more I see is the result of the deficiency. So
Right.
on the part,
Yes.
but also on the blood, in the first line, that
Yes.
result of the blood and chi. So I think it's more for deficiency.
So it's the deficiency of the blood and the qi. And then it somehow that caused the pores to open. So the body is not able to protect itself. So the pores are kind of lax. And then that invites the wind and the damp coming from the outside enter to the body. So this is almost a little bit like somebody catching a cold, isn't it? So in this kind of initial stage. And then it says the wind and the dampness are sort of lodged, 刻于半身, so lodge on the half side of the body and between the pores. And then so the blood and the qi are congealed and they cannot be nourished. And then it says if it doesn't get cured, then the 真气 qi, the true qi in your body sort of disappears, and then you only got the deviant qi. Then that becomes lateral withering. I mean, to me, lateral withering is quite serious. So that's why I'm, and then the symptoms is, half the signs are a lack of movement on one side of the body. Again, isn't it, that sounds more like a stroke? So that sounds like very serious to me. So what do you think, Jess? Jess, is that right, Jess? Could you, I can see you raise your hand.
Yeah, Jesse.
Jesse,
So
nice to meet you.
yeah, so it does sound like zhongfeng or stroke, but it could also, like, I have a patient who had head injury and has hemiplegia, right? So, you know, in that case is from trauma. In this case, it's talking very specifically about wind invasion. So
Yeah.
it sort of overlaps between stroke and between like bijung or like obstruction pattern, like you might see with like sciatica or something like that, where you have impairment of the nerve causing withering or causing weakness.
Yes.
So it doesn't fit cleanly into a modern category, but it does. And then, you know, it does seem to have like a mix of deficiency and excess, like deficiency cause, but then once you have this qi blood stagnating, congealing, then you have excess as well, right? And so I think what it said where It's like, don't, tonify deficiency and drain excess is like a really important point in forms of treatment, because you're going to have a complicated treatment that involves both draining the stagnation, but then you have to figure out how to close the pores as well.
Yes, because I mean, the second part, it talks about that if the person is not even reached 20, then they die in 3 years. It definitely sounds like a very serious condition.
Yeah, you don't die from sciatica, but you certainly could die
No.
from a stroke, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's still pointing to something far more serious than just somebody catching a cold.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. So basically, this is definitely dealing with something very serious, but the conceptualization of this illness is something to do with something external. So it's not an accident. It's not that you're being, it's not an injury. It's more like to do with the environment and the long-term kind of exposure to this kind of wind and cold and dampness, or so okay, let's jump into the exercise now. So I would like to bring in Fabrice. So if Fabrice is here, Fabrice, are you happy to help me on this?
Sure. How would you like me to help with that?
Right. Okay. So, so are you happy to just read it? So basically, you read. We look at the first ones, and then we can then just try to practice. And after we've done a bit of practice, we can think about whatever, or what our thoughts are, or what you think. Yeah.
Yeah, I should be able to read 4-line. I'm not a really good out loud speaker, but a short paragraph should be okay.
Wonderful.
Good. So, the Yangshan recipe, the Daoyin method says, lean upright against the wall, holding your breath, move the qi from your head to your toes. This cure Ju abscess. I don't know what Ju is, if you want to chime in on that, or
so Ju, so it's, yeah, I mean, there's a whole section all about Ju in the later part of this book. It's some kind of abscess, and yeah, well, I think at the moment you just think as being an abscess. It's just there's so many different types, so that's why I'm not translating that particular word.
Okay.
It is a type of abscess.
So this cures abscess, shan, which are bulging or mountaining, dafeng, leprosy, withering on one side of the body, and various bee impediment caused by wind. And if we turn the page, we have the first image, that person leaning against a wall.
Okay, so this one is, I would say, is quite straightforward exercise. I mean, this is very, to me, it's very interesting because this is the very first Daoyin exercise in this text. And it's quite simple, and immediately two things here going on. One is you hold your qi, you hold your breath. So you kind of have to, so this is already to do with the breathing exercises. So again, I found particularly like in the kind of Qigong that I practice, yeah, it's very much to do with the breathing. And also if you're doing Tai Chi, again, it's to do with the breathing and the movements. So here, there's a lot of emphasis of holding the breath and move the Qi. So how do you do that? 不习行气, hold, so not breathe, 行气, move the qi. And then 从头至足趾, from head to your feet. For me, it's almost involving some kind of visualization. Otherwise, I don't know how you would do it. But for me, it's kind of like, I hold my breath, I lean against the wall, I hold my breath, and then I visualize this qi from head to toes. And So that's basically, okay, so you lean against the wall. That I found that interesting because I haven't seen any exercises that ask you to lean against the wall. So this is quite special. So again, you can tell me why it is significant to leaning against the wall. I mean, can we just do it standing straight? Why leaning against the wall? And then, yeah, and then hold your breath and move the chi from head to toe. So sounds very simple, but if you try to do it, how do you do it? I mean, should we try have a go and see how we feel? Should we try to do that?
Mhm.
Great. Okay.
Sure.
Let's
If you
do it.
want, if I may add a quick
Yeah.
note, the notion of moving the awareness through the body in order to lead the qi, there's a modern qigong methodology that's called guan qi, threading the qi, which is when you actually pick up two different points in the body and you move your mind between them to allow the qi to flow. So it's not as much in what I'm talking about, it's not as much as a visualization where you're trying to move the qi, but you're simply moving your awareness between the two extremity of the pole where you want things to move. And by, in this case, we usually use the breath. So if you're inhaling, you have more of an upward movement, you would focus on the top of the head. While exhaling, you bring your awareness, for example, to kidney one, similar to take the same example as we have here, which will then allow the qi to start to move. In this case, with the holding of the breath, modern research have demonstrated how breath holding has a very tonifying quality within the body, which will help in this case that we're looking at, which focuses on hemiplegia, which is related to a deficiency originally when external wind penetrated the body. And as well, the holding of the breath, especially if you hold it for a long period of time, tend to bring you towards um, uh, accelerating metabolism and light sweat, creating more heat in the body, which is the result that we're aiming for in order to push external wind and dam that entered the body. So you want to create that light sweat as you're doing that. And the idea of leaning against the wall, considering that we're talking about people who have some level of hemiplegia that can't really have a strong body, leaning against the wall will allow them to stand straight and have a bit more of that verticality to work on versus doing a similar exercise lying down, which would create different type of pressure points on the body as they're doing it.
Wow, that's really brilliant. Thank you so much, Fabrice. So yes, I mean, this to me, simple exercise, but but hard. So let's try it. Let's try it because this is different from, what I would normally are familiar with, and that is you inhale and then you exhale and then sort of chi coming down. This is like inhale, hold the chi, and then just move the chi and then see if we can kind of trying to follow what Fabrice was trying to say, is so the on the 2 points, head and the feet moving up and down while holding the chi. Yeah. So let's try it. See how that feels for you. So we
If
spend
I may, just a quick note of warning, if any of you have high blood pressure, don't do that, especially the holding the breath, bringing your awareness to the top of the head. That will skyrocket it or risk bringing the pressure up.
yeah.
In this case, you would want it down. So just, quick note on that.
Just be mindful with what you're doing, and it's only due to your own ability. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's try it. We do it for about a minute or so. Well, I definitely feel a little bit lightheaded. So yeah, so when you're ready, we can come back. And so yeah, I mean, anybody want to share their thoughts or how they, can raise your hands so that we can.
Can I jump in for a quick second?
Yeah, sure, Rob.
I just wanted to mention a few things just looking at the text, and I was wondering if you could pass comment on them, or maybe somebody else who might know about this also could pass comment on them. So I noticed that there's a few words that we would frequently see in old Daoyin books, 补习, not breathe, 行气, move the qi or move the breath. And then so I have a couple questions. The first one is, when it says don't breathe, I wonder if maybe this is similar to like breath retention, like bishi, or tuna, one of those practices. And then xingqi, we see it in the oldest Daoyin documents. So maybe I think it's usually related to the breathing practice that helps us to move the qi. And then the next question I have is, it says 从头指足指. So from the head, it arrives at the toes. Do you think that 从 and Dao should be from and to, right? So it's not imagining the whole body at once, but it should be taking the qi from the head to the toes. Am I right in that supposition?
So 从头至足指, from head, arrive, feet, stop.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you hold straight leaned wall, not breathing, move qi from head, arrived, feet, stop. So I think that you hold, so my understanding would be you hold the breath and then move this qi from the head to the feet, then you stop. Okay, then you breathe in again, yeah. Otherwise, and then you do that sort of moving qi from your head to your toe. So you don't, not necessarily like going up and down while you're holding your breath. So you kind of, so it could be quite slow actually, from your head down to your feet.
What I'm wondering, because when we look at books like Yangxing Yanminglu,
Okay.
Tao Hongjing, his text, has a lot of these kind of exercises. So I have it here. So it says, always seal the breath, and it says always seal the breath and internally breathe. When you get out of bed in the morning, then at that time you should squat down and rub the whole body, etc. But basically what he says is hold the breath in the upper abdomen, click the teeth and swallow the saliva. And he calls that xingqi, moving the qi. So what I wonder is xingqi a kind of practice? Should we view it as a noun or a verb?
Okay, well then that is something different. That is the xingqi, which has got the clacking teeth and then saliva and then swallowing the saliva. So it's all that kind of the whole bundle of it. And then I think in the in Tao Hongjing's text, I'm not quite sure actually it's written by Tao Hongjing, but anyway, in the Yangxing Yanminglu, is that call that xingqi. I would say 行气 is just a breathing exercise, so literally moving qi. In the earliest text, which is the Warring States text, is called the 行气名. It's written on this sort of jade object, and then it tells you how you breathe very, very deeply, and then so it's like a deep breathing exercise, and it's called 行气名, just means inscription of 行气, yeah. So 行气, yeah, to me is more about breathing exercise, so moving qi. Not quite what Tao Hongjing or the Yangxing Yanminglu, which has already incorporated other things. That's kind of maybe later part to be more extensive, I suppose.
So
which
maybe
we
the
have.
Xingqi practice in Zhubing Yuan Holun is more similar to the Warring States Xingqi Ming. Do you think there's continuity there, or?
I like to think that. Yes, I do. I mean, anybody can disagree with me. Xingqi for me is about the it's about the deep breathing exercise. So yeah. Anybody want to share their sort of experience? The first kind of, how did you feel when you sort of doing this particular exercise? Anybody want to share? To me, it's quite unusual because I really never seen this exercise anywhere in this sort of modern practice. I never seen it. It's only, we found it in Zhubing Yuan Holun. Nowhere else.
You have Jesse that rose his hand.
Oh yes, Jesse. So yes, please do say.
So I mean, in terms of the, sorry, I had another question before that prompt. I was just wondering about your translation. The punctuation, when like I'm looking at the punctuation, is that in the text or is that supplied by you, like the original text?
Right. So because I use the modern edition, which is edited by Ding Guangdi, and so in Ding Guangdi's version, it's already been punctuated. So you can say it's his interpretation of what the text might be like. Yeah. Because although ancient texts, they don't have punctuations, they assume that so you kind of read it, and when you stop, that is when it's punctuated. So in the ancient text, basically people just read and read and read, yeah. But kind of the punctuation, so that it just happened naturally. But in the modern text, obviously we definitely put punctuations in, and sometimes it's then can be argue that where would be the right place to punctuate. So is there anywhere that you think that might be that we may need to change the punctuation?
Well, I was just thinking about, I mean, I don't think we need to change it necessarily, but the Bushi Xingqi, like, if there is punctuation between that, then it would mean totally different thing, right? But no, I was just curious as to the breakdown in different styles of punctuation.
Okay, so if we say lean against the wall and then hold the breath and then move the qi. So we say 不习, comma, 行气, comma, 从头至足止. So in the Chinese text, if you read things, it tends to sort of follow, because it follows with time, yeah? So you first of all do leaning straight against the wall, and then you hold the breath, and then you move qi, and then from head to toes.
Okay.
So it's still, to me, it would still be okay with or without the punctuation between the 不习 and 行气. You still have to hold the breath. It's not like you finish holding the breath and then you move the qi. Because it is holding the breath. So all that kind of happening by adding more things to it. Yeah.
In terms of the experience, I find that it is diaphoretic. Like I do feel like it opens the pores to hold the breath standing up. I do think that there's a strong activation of Dumai, visualizing, bringing the consciousness down from the top of the head down to the feet. It's like we're trying to activate. It feels to me like we're trying to activate Yang and bring function into the tissues, right? We're moving the qi into the tissues through, for my experience was I felt warmer and I felt a little bit sweaty, and I think the question of how long are we holding the breath is not clear. I think that is a pretty important point that I guess we're here to try and figure out what the best.
Yeah.
10 seconds? Is it 30 seconds? Are we trying to go for a minute? Like, I felt like, because I haven't been practicing breath holding recently, like to visualize from the top to the bottom of my feet and go at the pace that felt natural for my mind to penetrate my tissues. I would say it felt like about 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds. And that was pushing my, unpracticed capacity for breath holding. And I think that that's probably the point, is to put our mind, like, start getting that signal of like, something's a little bit wrong, you should breathe, and then pushing through that a little bit. But in practice, in like I would feel comfortable recommending this to a patient, because ultimately they're going to breathe when they need to breathe. But standing up, hemiplegia, for various, like, from insurance perspectives, it might be a little tricky, but this book is well before the concept of insurance, right? So
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, thank you so much.
I think you brought, if I may just jump in quickly, I think Jesse brought an interesting aspect that we should keep in mind, that the context of this book is medical. It's not cultivation, it's not going deeper and developing higher skill. It's how can we use these for patients. So for those of us who are clinician, it's easy to think about the general people that come into our clinic. They're not going to be able to hold their breath for a minute or a minute and a half or more. So the concept is probably, as he was saying, just hold the breath as long as you can, push it a little bit, because that's when that opening of the pores gets a little bit more intense, and then just release. And to go back to what I said before the exercise, I think Dolly was right, that the idea is to really just start from the head and move down and not go back and forth, which I played with a little bit when I did it. And the going back tend to bring the breath also higher up in the lung, brings the energy a lot stronger when we're holding the breath, whereas the downward kind of calm everything and release downward when you're holding the breath. If you're doing the back and forth, you need to have a high enough level of practice for it not to be a risk and get something else. But for a therapeutic side, just holding the breath and just moving down makes a lot more sense and is also a lot safer.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. So I think we can maybe move to the next one now. The next
We've got
one,
a question in the chat.
a question. Okay.
Yeah. So the question is, are there any commentaries to Zhubing Yuan Holun that would explain some terms like Xingqi?
I haven't seen one. Again, Ding Guangdi, the person who compiled the modern edition, he actually published a book specifically on the Daoyin and the Yangshen materials, and he would have some kind of sort of commentaries. Yeah, I mean, I can check them out to see what he says. So yeah, I'll look it up, and then if it's interesting, I will let you know. But
Great.
yeah,
And just a quick note to anybody who wants to ask questions in the chat. You have a couple choices about how you send them. You can send them to me directly, but then I'll be the only one who can see them. You can send them to the whole group, and then everyone can see them. Or you can send them to other members of the group. So whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm always in the background here and I can see your questions. So if you'd like, then I can just field the questions from here on. Or Fabrice, if you want to, you can also take the questions.
Robert, can I ask you a question? Because
Yeah.
in the chat, it just says direct message to you. So I don't.
And there's no other choices?
I don't seem to be able to change to other.
Okay. I'll try to fix that in the next meeting, but then for the time being, if you have questions, I guess you're stuck sending them to me. My apologies.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Right. So Fabrice, should we try the next one?
Dolly, do you mind if you asked
yeah.
earlier about the pulses, and I've just been
Yeah,
trying to
sure.
work through it a little bit. So I'm not like my Chinese is not amazing, but the stomach pulse is sunken and big. The heart pulse is small, firm, and rapid. I would I'm not sure if this is a term that was used at this time, but the wiry term, like small, firm, and rapid, to me sounds like rapid and wiry. And the heart pulse being small, firm, and rapid indicates to me that like the chi of the heart is constrained. and
Okay.
heat it up, right? And so we have the blockage of the tissues, and the withering is like the lack of conscious command, like the heart chi, the shen cannot penetrate into the tissues. And so if we have like half of our body or a limb that's not functional, then the amount of space in the heart for in the body for the consciousness to penetrate is restricted, right?
Yes.
And so I think about that as like, yeah, like one of the goals with this exercise is to try to encourage the heart or our mind to repenetrate the tissues, to expand into the tissues that it has been sort of locked out of, right? From the stagnation of qi and blood. Anyways, I just thought I would add that because you were asking about the pulses. Just took me a second
Yes,
to
I
get.
think that's very, very helpful to know that. And so yeah, anytime if you spot anything that is useful for us to know, that's great, because I wouldn't have any, any knowledge about how those indications or pulses refer to. So yeah, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the term wiry would be used at this time in the text, like, or if maybe I'm extrapolating too much. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell.
Wiry. Yeah, I'm trying to think what the Chinese character would be used if people translate wiry. So Y is like xian, it's like string.
String-like is, yeah.
String-like.
Normally
yes.
it would be xian.
Xian, so that would be the word xian, and then that's like tight, yeah. So this ji is like quick. So it's so it doesn't give you that kind of almost like a tension. It doesn't have that. The lao is like really like tight. Lao is, 坐牢 is you go to jail, yeah. So you're being stuck. So
Like
xiao,
confined?
lao,
Confined?
confined, exactly. Yeah, confined. Yeah,
Hmm.
more confined and quick.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
We have another chat question.
Oh,
I'm just thinking what we might do is collect the chat questions until the end of each section. So let's say each exercise, and then we can just take a moment for the questions that come in the future.
okay.
So it says, is leaning also maybe a way to pressure the Fengmen acupoint?
Fengmen point. Where is Fengmen? Fengmen 在哪里? Is it at the back?
Should be on the back of the head, isn't it?
So who
The
wrote
octopus.
this?
Oh, level of T2, second thoracic. So like upper back actually. Yeah,
Oh.
I think we were thinking of feng shui.
Oh right, yeah, we're thinking feng shui.
So I'd like the level of just
Fengmen.
under the nape of the neck, on the sides. 1.5.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is a way to pressure. So can that person tell us like what's that point is for? Why do we need to, pressure that particular point?
If I may.
Oh yeah. Hello.
Hi. Well, the point name in Chinese has
Yeah.
sound in it, so wind. So
Mm,
it's a door of the wind on the Taiyang channel. So
right.
to me, it's kind of there's some relation to what we are doing in exercise and maybe the point we're pressuring.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. So I can see Fengmen. Is it the bladder?
Yeah, exactly. Taiyang.
The bladder 12.
Yes.
Right.
Not that easy to.
Cool. Very interesting. Yeah. That's wonderful. So that's another insight that we can sort of trying to feed into this particular exercise. So that's very interesting. Okay, so Fabrice, if you're ready, should we try the next one?
Sure. So the next step, actually, before I read it, I have a quick question. Is it the same? Would it be considered the same paragraph, like an add-on to the previous exercise, or is it an independent one?
You mean when every time we say again, it says 右云,
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so because all these Daoyin exercises come from different sources. So it says it's from this called the Yangshen recipes, the Daoyin methods. It's not
Okay.
it's not really a text. There is no text called the Yangshen recipes, the Daoyin methods. So my guess is really within the Yangshen genre, if you like, the Yangshen Fang genre. We have these Daoyin methods with the text which talks about Daoyin. So you can imagine the medical officials in the Sui court, they found these different Daoyin exercises and then bring them into this text of 朱宾元后论. So when you say 右云, it almost like another one says, or another so another says, so it could be another from another text, or could be in that text it says also this will work on this illness. So again, it says happens again and again. So it is a separate exercise. It's almost like a different entry then, yeah?
Excellent, thank you. So again, it says, lift your toes, stop after 5 breaths. This pulls the impediment from your lumbus and back, get rid of withering on one side of the body, and improves your hearing. Practice regularly so that your eyes, ears, and all the other senses are not obstructed. So figure number 2, where we see them pulling the toes up. I was asking that question actually because I'm wondering, you know, how easy it could be to just combine what we just did while holding the toe all the way through to kind of add that extra layers to it, which may or may not be useful.
Yeah, so that is a very, very good question, Fabrice, because I mean, if you're doing like leaning against the wall and then hold your breath and then you move the chi, and then the next thing asks you to lift your toes, you kind of like, okay, I'm going to lean against the wall and then lift the toes, yeah. But because it's a different, and so it's a separate exercise, it says lift your toes. So actually, not necessarily you need to lean against the wall. You can actually lift your toes just by sitting. You can lift your toe by lying down. And because this exercise appears in another text, which is the Taoist text, the Shangqing Daoyin Yangshen Lun. I think is one of the main Daoyin texts in the Taoist, found in the Taoist canon. In that one, you will see they're actually lying down because this is one of the exercise while the person is still lying down, and you see it sees like after that you do this, after that you then raise your toes, so that you know the person is still lying down. But here, because it extracts from different texts, it just says lift your toes, stop after 5 breaths. So again, we don't know what position you are in. But in a sense, maybe it doesn't really matter because it's more about raising the toes. So I suppose you raise it while you're lying down or sitting or standing. Does it make so much difference? I don't know. So we could just try. I mean, you can try either standing up or sitting down, up to you. But the important thing is raise 2 feet toes, so raise the toes, 5 breath, stop. So, okay, again, looks simple, yeah? But if you do it, you'll realize it's quite hard because, I mean, you're holding your toes and you're taking 5 breaths and then stop. If I'm going to cheat, I would like, so doing it 5 times. So like hold and then stop, and that's 1 breath, and then hold and then stop, 2nd breath. But I think this exercise asks you to raise your toes, 5 breaths, stop. Do you want to try? So should we have a go? It's really hard. So let's try it. You can do it standing up or sitting down, up to you. So how's everybody doing? Is it okay? How did you find Fabrice?
I did first seated with my knees kind of 90-degree, and then I did standing. I think the description you gave from doing it lying down is probably the intended purpose, mostly because of the link towards the lumbar, which you don't quite engage when you're standing a little bit, not as much. If you're lying down, stretching your toes would create much more of a pull through all of the Taiyang channel in the back and the fascia that can stretch the back of your legs all the way up there. Whereas seated with the knee bent, you kind of feel it in the calf, but that doesn't even translate through the hamstring or anything. So
Yeah,
that's my interpretation.
I think you're right, because I mean, I'm just looking at it. It pulls the yao bei bi, so it pulls the B impediment from your lumbars and back. So I think in order to do that, sitting is not going to do it. I think standing might, I don't know. So lying down probably it will be the best, isn't it? So then here we can see that the almost like the problem of the medical officials in the Sui court, the way they sort of pulling different texts into this 朱宾元后论, that they almost like chopping things because they didn't want to take the whole things, which right in the beginning that in the different texts it will tell you to lie down and then you do this exercise and another one and then you do this particular one, which then the medical officials took it. Oh, this is one that will cure the B and the pian ku. So then they say, oh, that's a good one. So just pull it over here without actually saying, this one, you do it lying down. So yeah, so now we know that by, looking at the what it's supposed to do, I think, yes, lying down probably is the best position.
I just wanted to mention this one is variations of this are very popular in the contemporary fitness community. So for people who practice weightlifting, it's used especially as a way to stretch, but also to strengthen the muscles on the front of the legs. And it's also considered to release the hamstrings and the lower back. So even pulling the B from the lower back there seems to be consistent with its modern use in fitness.
So they raise their toes.
Yeah, that would be standing against a wall.
They will be.
Yeah, standing against the wall. Typically, they don't. Typically, it would be, I think, with the back against the wall, but sometimes they would put the buttocks against the wall and lean slightly forward and then pull the toes up. So maybe some slight variation.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that position adjustment would help the stretching through the buttocks and the lower back connected with the hamstring. So that makes sense.
Another thing is I looked into Fengmen, the acupoint. So I sent a chat to everybody so they can see that. It does look like Fengmen was in use before Zhu Bing Yuan Holun was written. So it may be, yeah.
It treats wind injury, cough, head pain with heat emission, lateral chest pain, stiff, nap, and ulcer. That's very interesting. Yeah, that's all connected, isn't it? Wonderful. Okay, so that's the second exercise. Anybody wants to say anything about the second exercise, or that's good? Oh, yes. Sorry, I don't know your name, but it's DDZ.
I'm David. Yeah, I
David,
wanted to ask,
hi, David.
I wanted to ask maybe Fabrice, what do you think? You mentioned that it's probably better done lying down, but what about standing up and feeling that pressure point on kidney 1, Yongquan, while we're raising the toes?
Yeah, I think try that, because that will be the natural thing, which we will do, because the first one, it tells you to lean against the wall, then you just carry on, raise the toes, as is like a continuation, yeah, that I think we can only know by try it. So we try to do it leaning against the wall, and then we try it by lying down. So when we got the chance of lying down, we then trying to see the effect, you know, of pulling your back, isn't it? That's when the lying down is like really be able to sort of lengthen your back because if you raise your toes, you're kind of lengthening the, you know, your sciatica sort of your legs. So yeah, try both and see. The reason why I said lying down is because I know it's from a different text, and that in that text it's definitely you do it lying down. That's also why when I asked my illustrator to illustrate this one, we did not do it the whole person standing up with their toe. I just said, okay, just draw the toes, because really it didn't tell you to stand up. So it didn't tell you to, it doesn't tell you what the position is. So that's why we only show the toes. That's a deliberate.
Thank you. Just to clarify David's question, were you asking about a mental focus on kidney one while doing it?
No, I did the exercise and pulled on my toes, and I really felt the pressure on kidney one when I was doing that. So I wondered maybe since we are in the flow of qi, the qi is ending at the little toe on Taiyang, Zhuchayin, and then it's reverting back in the middle of the foot on the lower side of the foot on Yongquan. So it's a continuity of the qi. So that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a little bit different. What I did was more pulling the whole foot, and I was kind of on my heel. But you made an interesting point, especially like my legs are a little bit at an angle. I'm not kind of fully straight, although because otherwise you're not really leaning against the wall. But that idea of kind of pressing the ball of the foot into the ground as you stretch the toes up definitely create a more active kidney one area. And in some texts, they considered actually kidney one being the ending of the Taiyang channel, not being on the small toe, partially because of the connection through the Luo channel that connects the bladder to the kidney. So that's definitely a good way to release, and considering that it's also the dispersing point of the kidney area, the kidney channel, it played that role for the bladder channel. So definitely a good way to pull some external pathogens that might be blocking the bladder channel out the foot in that way. So yeah, good point.
Yeah, thanks.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so should we move on to the next one? The next one is actually quite similar, I would say, similar to the first one. And it actually in Ding Wangdi's, the other book that he wrote, which he gives a lot of, just focusing on the Daoyin and the Yangshen materials of Zhu Bingyue Houlun. He actually combined this with the first one. He thinks that the text almost like somehow disconnected. So he bring them together. But I didn't do that because I just see it as, I just still leave it as a separate exercise. So let's try it and see what we think. So Fabrice, would you like to read it?
Sure. So again, it says, with your back straight and supported, stretch both leg and toes, quieten your mind, pull your qi from your head, imagine it reaching to your 10 toes and sole of your feet. Pull it thrice, 7 times, until the sole of your feet seems to have received the qi. This is called pulling up the qi to Niwan, the muddy pellet, and reaching down to Yongquan, bubbling spring, kidney one.
Yeah, so this one, with your back straight and supported, so 正椅, it didn't use the word 椅壁, like the wall. It just says straight and supported. So again, probably you can lean against the wall. You need to support it by something anyway. And then you stretch both legs and toes. You quieten your mind, darken your mind, 明心, and then from your head, you pull the qi. So it's like you breathe in, but you breathe in, sort of bring your qi upwards first, and then you start. So this one definitely should tell you to visualize, because you think, you 想 以达. So you imagine that the qi is going to arrive to your feet, the 10 toes and the soles of your feet. And then it's like 可以, you can do 3 times 7 pull. And then you wait, hold, you wait the sole of your feet, the 掌心, as if it received the qi, and then you stop. And then, so this is called pull the qi to the Yuan. So Yuan is a Taoist term, yeah? So it's the muddy palate is the one that is right inside, sort of behind your, between your eyebrows inside, yeah? And then you bring your qi there in the Yuan, and then you imagine it going down, reaching to the Yongquan. So Yongquan is the kidney one on the soles of your feet. So this one is definitely is not the same. I would say similar, but not the same as the first one. The first one is hold the breath, and then you move the qi. This is you bring the qi to your head, and then you imagine it going all the way down. So it's this one, I think, is a bit more, gives you a bit more instruction. So you do that, and you do that 3 times 7 times. So basically 21 times, yeah? But the way they count is like 1, 7, or how do you count it? So like you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 2, 1, 2. I don't know how you count it now. So basically you count 3 lots of 7. And then so you get to 21. So that's quite a long time to bring the qi to your head, and then down all the way down to the 10 toes and to your soles of your feet. So the aim is trying to feel this your qi reaching to your soles. Again, that's quite hard. Well, I mean, again, we can try. So should we do it maybe with against the wall? So I think that would be but maybe we don't need to do it 3 times 7, because I think that's a lot. We just try it. So this time I think is to bring the qi to your head at the Yuan, and then breathe. So hold on, imagine it all the way down. So I suppose you do it while holding the breath. I don't know. What do you try and let me know. So should we have a go? Very similar, I think, but more with the visualization. I do find you know, I kind of have questions about whether I breathe out while visualizing the qi going down, because to me that's quite natural. So I breathe in into my into my head, and then I breathe out, then visualizing it down. For me, that's easier than to hold the breath and still visualizing the qi going down. Is somehow is harder to achieve that. I don't know about your experience. It just feels more natural if I could breathe out and then visualizing the qi going down and then almost like come out through the out from the Yongquan points. But that may not be what the text asks me to do. So yeah, this one again, the reason why it's kind of Ding Guangdi, the you know the person who edited the modern version of 朱彬远后论, he kind of combined that with something with the first one, is because this one doesn't say then this treats something something, so it's kind of part of an exercise, belong to some other exercise, if you like. So it's not an independent one, because if it's independent entry, it will then say, okay, you do this, and then it will cure whatever. This one, you can see that it doesn't have that. So that's why he thinks that's kind of a being, you know, sort of get lost somewhere, and then, yeah. Anyway, so that's why. 太阳城, okay. So anybody wants to make comments on this one? Fabrice, how do you feel?
I mean, it seems to be kind of a variation of what we've seen already. My reflection so far between the three, considering the concept of the disease section we're in, especially to help remove wind, I tend to think that the holding the breath actually helps an extra layer by warming up the body, opening the pores and pushing things out. As far if I'm thinking really from a Chinese medicine point of view, acupuncture treatment would be to try to induce this kind of response of the body to bring the qi from the depth towards the surface. The other one seems to be a bit softer, a bit more channel oriented, moving the qi in the channel so that it can remove some of the blockage. Again, you might want to combine that depending on, is the disease still mostly on the sinew surface area, so you can easily get rid of it by inducing a light sweating, or is it something deeper into the main channel where you need to increase the movement of the qi through the channel and use some of the exit gates at the extremity to release it from the body? I guess that's what's interesting also, is that from a purely clinical perspective, it gives us different tools or different blocks so we can build in order to target specifically the patient that's in front of us.
Personally, I like this particular instruction, is because the verb, which is yin, to pull. So Daoyin is to guide and to pull. So the word yin is there. So it tells you to pull the qi. So to me is very clear what I needed to do. And also, when I do this, if I say pull the qi, then the intention is there. It's like you can really feel that the qi is being pulled up into the head and then being pulled down. So it's as though it kind of helps with the exercise as well. Whereas the 不习行气, move the qi, somehow move the qi doesn't help me. It's like pull the qi. Yes, okay, I got it. You know, it kind of does it. So yeah, so this kind of you know, the ways that the word's being used is interesting, because yin definitely has got that intention of pulling it. Right. Okay. So anybody wants to say anything here?
just
Yes.
in collection with the different exercises, like we seem to be creating a cycle, right? Like we have all this downward energy through the back, and then we have the lifting of the toes. So we have Yangming lifting and Taiyang descending. And so we're creating a circuit in the body, in a sense, where we're lifting up the front and descending down the back. And
Right.
in reflection with the stomach pulse, the deep and large, that I generally would take that as like a stomach yang deficiency sort of pulse, because it's sunken. And so
Yes.
by lifting the toes, and that activates like Zusan Li stomach 36 acupuncture point, that could be a way to generate yang and qi in the stomach, and which nourishes the muscles and the tissues, and then descending Taiyang to open up the Dumai and Taiyang to bring dispersion to the tissues as well. So we're dispersing through Taiyang and rising and tonifying Yang Ming.
Cool. That's amazing. Wonderful. Thank you. Great. Yes. So you will see the next one again is very similar. So yeah, Fabrice, if you could read it.
We have a quick question in the chat.
Oh,
if you
quick
don't
question.
mind.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the question says, my feeling is that this exercise should be done by lying down, not standing. Do you not think so?
Ah, okay. 以备正椅. 正椅, but the word 椅 is like leaning. If you are lying down, I'm not sure the word 椅 is going to be appropriate, because 正, normally if you're lying down, you're probably going to say 正卧, 卧 as in lying down. So that is definitely you're lying down. But 正椅, you're just sort of being, yi is like 椅子, yeah? 椅子 is chair, yi is to lean. So you're leaning against something. We don't normally say leaning against the bed. So I would still think maybe is against. I think you're against the wall. Most likely.
If you don't mind indulging me for just half a second, when I'm looking at all of the exercises in this section, multiple ones of them mention leaning against the wall or being supported. So it seems to me like it's almost all of them, they mean to say that they're done in the same way against the wall. What do you think about that?
Well, I would say 椅臂, yeah, 椅. It's definitely being supported by something, and it's already told us in the beginning, is 椅臂. Yeah, I think in this text it does. I can't. There's no other. Yeah, if it's 椅 something, tend to be leaning against the wall. I can't think of anything else. So yeah, if it's lying down, I think it will say 正卧. Then you see that in other exercise instructions in this text. So I would say, yeah, standing up. I mean, you could sit down and leaning against the wall. You don't have to stand up. It is possible to just sit leaning against the wall, with your feet forward. That could also be possible. Because, I mean, the idea is, the back needs to be straight and leaning against something to be supported. And then you stretch out. Again, I mean, this one, it feels like actually if you sit down leaning against the wall, that might feels better because you'll stretch out 2 feet and the toes. And then, yeah. So again, you can try and see which one is more effective for you. I think a lot of these exercises, in a way, it can be sort of can be quite flexible. So you can just try it and then see which works better. But the next one, it will definitely tells you to eat B. So that's leaning against the wall again then. Okay, Fabrice.
So again, it says stand straight and lean against the wall, holding your breath. Move the qi from your mouth into your head. This cures Jew abscess, B impediment, Dafeng, leprosy, sorry, and withering on one side. So looking at figure number 3, which is on the other side.
Which is the same as figure 1. Yeah. So so it's stand straight, lean against the wall, hold your breath, and move the qi. So yeah, it looks the same as the first one, except this one, it is from the mouth, from your mouth into your head and stop. So this one, it does not ask you to pour the qi down. It's actually just you go to your head and that's it. And I think normally you breathe in through your nose. So you inhale and then you hold the qi, yeah? So 不吸. But then here it says 从口去令. So you from your mouth into your head. I'm just wondering whether you actually breathe through your mouth into your head and then you hold. And then so yeah, I mean this is another one that we can do, and to see again the difference between breathing in through your nose or breathing in through your mouth, and then bring the qi to your head and then stop there. So yeah. This is, should we try, or should we just I mean, we don't seem to have a lot of time, so I'm kind of leaning towards like moving to the next one. So this is a sort of slight variations, but it's kind of, bringing to your head. So let's move on to the next one, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, I think it's similar.
Okay.
And
Similar.
just as a bit of a warning, from my personal experience, my teacher's experience as well, who was for those who don't know me, my main Qigong teacher at the moment was the director of the Shanghai Qigong Research Institute in China during the 80s and 90s. So he got to deal with a lot of people who ended up having Qi deviation issue. And a lot of those were usually people forcing qi going up into the head. And this kind of approach of focusing specifically around, the mouth, bringing qi into the head, and especially in that case of holding the breath, kind of rides a very fine line that can be dangerous for some people, not necessarily everyone. And trained people who have been doing it for a while can definitely bring qi up into the head and do that in a safe way. But especially in the case of using these exercises clinically for patients who don't have Qigong background, that becomes a bit of a gray area towards dangerous territory.
Yes.
Just as a reflection from my perspective.
Also, I feel that breathing through your mouth, that for me is always a little bit tricky, because I think a lot of the exercises, you definitely breathe through your nose and breathe out either through your nose or through your mouth, which is what the most instructions from the Daoyin instructions here in Zhubing Holun. Very rarely you see that asks you to breathe through your mouth. I mean, it does. There may be like 2 or 3 exercises that you definitely need to breathe through your mouth. And that tend to treat like to do with your stomach, to do with like indigestion. So then it's asks you to breathe through your mouth. Otherwise, it is always through your nose. This one here is just, I'm not quite sure, from your mouth to make the qi arrive in the head. Yeah, it's yeah, to me, I also find it difficult because of the breathing through the mouth. But if anybody you know, maybe can try. And again, you know, what Fabrice just said, that's, you know, really important, that you don't end up having, you know, what's it called? Qi deviance. Qi, yeah, so that causing a lot of health issues then.
I just wanted to hop in really quickly about leading the qi to the head. So in old Taoist texts, not all of them are Daoyin, some of them are visualization texts as well, but there's early like Han Dynasty texts, there's a lot of variation of practices, and the practices haven't become according to one standard yet. So if this text is taking older entries from, you know, old medicine books or Taoist books, it could be that some of those practices were eventually discarded because they were not, people found them not to be good in various ways. But I can think, you know, a really good document to compare this against is Song Dynasty collection of older texts called Yunji Qiqian, also called the Small Taoist Canon. They have many things where people will imagine like something coming into the head from the eyes or from the nose or from the top of the head and this kind of stuff. So my feeling is that maybe this could be like one of those exercises which may have been discarded for a good reason eventually.
But I think at that time, in the 7th century, obviously there is an entry which says if you do this, it will cure the Ju Bi and the Da Feng and the Pian Ku. So they thought, oh, okay, this might be useful. So then that's why they pull them over here. And yeah, so I think that's what happened. But in terms of really, you know, to make it as a practice and makes it effective, is for us, for modern people, is you know, is something we need to be cautious. And yeah, so just you know, something we don't have to take on everything. Great. Okay, so let's do the next one. I think we hopefully got the time to do the last one in this disease entry. So the last one, Fabrice, please.
Again, it says, keeping one foot still on the ground, point the other foot to the side. Turn your body together with your arms, lean to one side and bring them back quickly. Alternate between left and right sides twice, 7 times. This gets rid of wind cold in the spine and withering on one side that is not freely moving or lubricated.
Okay, so this one is definitely you know, physical movements now. So it's nothing to do with breathing or visualization, leaning against the wall. Okay, so this is something very different. And it's kind of what we're familiar with, like doing the sort of Qigong exercises. And so you got one foot on the ground, which is not moving, but then you got one is sort of on moving to, facing towards the side. So it's almost like a T shape. Yeah, that's right. So Fabrice is doing it now. And then you turn your body. So whatever the T shape that the side of that feet, you turn to that direction, I imagine. And then you bring both arms back. It says quickly back. Then yeah, and then you bring it to the other side. I imagine when you bring it to the other side, yeah, your foot will kind of need to turn. Yes, so I think Fabrice is doing it now. And then you do it twice, 7 times. So yeah, we can all try, have a go, and see how you feel. So you kind of need to put your feet, one foot pointing to one side, and then bring both back. Then you turn to the other side, then the other foot need to turn to face that direction, yeah? And then when you bring your arms back, your feet become straight again. I think that's how I would do it. So similar to what Fabrice is doing. So I kind of experimented a little bit. So when I turn to the left and then back again, so it's kind of swinging back and forth. So left and right, back and forth, and then while turning my feet. But then in the beginning, I sort of do it, just come back and then pause a little bit. And then I turn to the other side and then swing the arms back and then pause. But then after a while, the exercise could sort of join up. So like to the left and then quickly to the right, and then, but then all the time, moving the feet. So yeah, I think probably it is to bring the arms back, and then you kind of pause, and then you turn to the other side, and then bring them back, bring the arms back.
I had a great result with it.
You did, Robert?
I did.
Tell
I was
me.
surprised. Well, because I thought, it would be easy to think, oh, this might be the same as the modern Pai-Da exercise where they swing the arms and the arms go
Yeah.
the body. But I thought I would try it in a different way. So I put my back against, it was very awkward. I put my back against the wall and I turned my left side and I turned to the left and threw my arms in a really awkward way, like a little bit stiff because I was against the wall. But
Yeah.
I kept doing it, and once I got the hang of it,
Yeah.
my spine actually relaxed a lot, and my shoulders opened up, and I felt like a warm feeling in my arms.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
I was delighted.
Yeah, well, I mean, it didn't tell you to lean against the wall, but you kind of added that on. That's interesting.
I had it stuck in my mind.
Yeah, right. Wow, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the effect is trying, because it get rid of the wind cold in the spine. So it's definitely trying to so it's trying to make you warm, isn't it? And yeah, so that's great. Excellent.
But it made me think though, they have this all in one list. I know maybe they're not saying that you should do these as a routine, but I wanted to ask, in your experience having translated this book, do you find sometimes that there may be a suggestion of a continuity between the exercises, so those people with the illness will take more than one of each kind and combine them together to try to have a small routine, or do you think they're each done separately?
Yeah, I mean that's everyone's guess, really. I mean, I would like to think that in when they compile this text, is for the physicians to prescribe these exercises. So the doctors will like have a look very quickly. Say, oh, okay, I can see that there are 4 different exercises related to this kind of lateral withering thing. So then it will then tell the patients, okay, these are the 4 exercises. Just do those 4. It's very, very specifically about, getting rid of the lateral withering, the B impediments. And so just concentrate on those 4 exercises. Yes. But then it's not really a sequence in terms of where they come from, because these, as I said, they were not invented by the medical officials in the Sui court. These came from somewhere. And then in their original text, they are part of a routine. Yeah. Very often could be part of, you do this and then you do that. Whereas here is kind of already been chopped bits and pieces, so then bring them together. The reason why they want to bring them together is because they just want to focus on this particular illness. So then they say, okay, try these different ones. They are all to do with the lateral withering. And yeah, so then, yeah, this is almost like the new, the innovation of the Sui period, that they wanted to bring these exercises together for a very specific illness. So that then you can say, well, that can be a routine. Yes, you can do that as a routine, as like a sequence. Yeah, so as what we just did. Do the leaning against the wall first, and then raise your toes, and then you kind of visualize, how you can pull the chi to your head and then bring it down all the way to your feet. And then you can do the swinging one at the end. Yeah, so you can turn that into like a sequence, like a set of exercises then. Right. So Jesse, do you want to say anything? Your hands raised, so just wondering. Yeah, sure.
Yes. So I was just wondering how important you think the character for leaning is. You mentioned leaning because, like, is this a pivoting exercise, or are we also tilting and sort of stretching out one side of the back?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, they're very different exercises, whether you're just twisting or twisting and leaning. Like,
Yeah. I know my translation has got this leaning post. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't. If if you ask my opinion, I would say you don't actually lean, but you do put your weight on your left. So if you do the left, you put your weight to your left foot. When you do the right, you put your weight on your right foot. So in a way, you're already bringing the posture slightly to the left when you're swinging to the left. Yeah. So I think that's rather than your whole shoulders is linked. So it's not as deliberate, I don't think. Let me just try again. Ah. So yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. I mean, the Chinese character definitely has got this lean. So it's the 转身 仪式 or 气势 转 is turn, 身 body, 气 is like lean, and 势 is posture. So you do have this kind of leaned. That word is definitely there. But in terms of doing it, whether you sort of kind of exaggerated it or it would just kind of happen, it's so naturally. Oh, okay. So okay, that's very interesting, Jesse. I think you probably lean to the side because what you're going to do is you're going to bring both hands to bring them back quickly. So in order to do that, you kind of like give yourself a little bit of pause to lean to the left and then you bring them back. How does that?
so would this be like doing one side, because like it said the one foot's planted on the ground, the one foot's, so if we're not alternating, if we're just keeping one foot planted on the ground, the other to the side, then we
Okay.
turn and lean and then pull back, lean, pull back. I don't know,
Okay. Okay, but then you don't do the left side. You don't just keep doing the left side. You do the left and then you do the right. You do the left and you do the right. So it's a 左右叠互. So you do need to do the left first and then right. And
May I interject an idea quickly?
yeah, sure.
In really recent fitness stuff, there's a few people I can think of that really focus on this. One of them is I don't know his first name, but his family name is Weck, Weck. He focuses a lot on lateral rotation and lateral flexion in the body side. So
Okay.
basically in the rib area. I don't really have very much space here, but I'll try to give an illustration. If we applied the leaning concept, it could be as subtle as when you turn, right? Then this part of the body it goes down, and this part of the body goes up slightly, and so you end up in like if I were to show it like a torque posture like that, And so this is very, very common for people who are doing weightlifting. Traditional powerlifting, because powerlifting makes the body very stiff, sort of vertically and laterally. And so people are working on this kind of turning at the ribs in order to create more flexibility in the sides of the body so that they don't get various injuries from powerlifting. This is very, very common right now. And the ideas were derived from Chinese exercises. The guy Weck, who is one of the pioneers of this kind of movement in bodybuilding, specifically learned them by studying the martial art of Bagua-Zhang. So it's an interesting possibility, the leaning idea.
Cool. So yes, I think we can, carry on practice this particular exercise, sort of trying to, I think almost like it takes a bit of time to learn this one. It's almost like you can't just do it straight away. You kind of have to just practice. So then you remember the 1 foot is sort of face sideways, and then you lean your body and turn and then try to do it left and right twice 7 times, and then see how you feel afterwards. So I thought we should really finish here, because it's nearly well, for me it's nearly 7 o'clock in the UK, so that means we have been here for nearly 2 hours now. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. That's just such an incredible session for to be able to really work on these in such depth, and and bring out a lot of insights. So thank you so much. And so we're hoping we'll build up our pace a little bit faster, so then we can look at a bit more quickly if possible in the future. But yeah, we're just finding our feet still here. So but this is such a first great start. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cassie, thank you, Fabrice. Really wonderful. So we'll meet in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Miro. Wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, if you have any questions, you could write it down, maybe send it to Robert, and we can then look at those questions next time when we meet. So when we meet next time, we can then spend a bit of time just reflecting what we have done, and then move on to the next. So the next one, you can look ahead in chapter 2, section 14, Yuan 1, section 14. It's a lot more exercises, and so, but hopefully we can do a bit more. So we'll aim to do 2 disease entries next time, but we'll see. Great, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Take care. Bye.